Okay. Right, so hopefully the text working now. So yeah, Harry Potter and the data integration platform. Why this title is about. So the reason I've chosen this title is because there's two reasons. One is because it just sounds interesting, okay? But the other one is there is a serious problem here in the industry, and it's a serious problem right around Australia, in fact, all around the world. And it's this serious problem that I really want to get onto tonight. And it's this belief in magic, okay? Now, we all like the Harry Potter movies, well, I do anyway. And I think they're wonderful pieces of fiction, and they're entertaining, and they're heartwarming, and I really enjoy watching them. But it's fiction, it's not real, okay? But, and I'll come on to this evening, unfortunately, people want to believe in magic, and this affects business decisions in a very troubling and worrying way. Okay, and it's the effect of this. I really want to believe that this software has magical power is one of the biggest problems we face. Okay, so that's the sort of point I want to emphasize tonight. The other thing is the presentation I'm doing tonight. It's part of my DAMA data literacy series. Okay, these are not technical deep dives into obscure algorithms for fifth normal form and stuff like that that all those data nerds get excited about. This is data literacy for normal human beings who've got a day job to do, which is running a library or, you know, running defense or running a finance company or something. They've got normal day jobs, but they need to know stuff about data. But a lot of people don't, but they think they're data literate. They buy stuff on eBay. They download things from Netflix. You know, they use a phone to do all sorts of clever stuff. They think, well, I've got data, I know it all. What else is there to know? A lot, actually, quite a lot. And the problem is people don't understand that they are illiterate, but the literacy that they need isn't hard, it's not complex, it's not difficult. It's just nobody's ever taken the effort to explain to them things like, where does data come from? What's a data asset? What's a catalog? What's a registry? What's an inventory? What's a report? You know, basic concepts to do with data. Nobody's ever explained it to them, and so they just don't know it. And unfortunately, they revert to relying on that belief in magic. All right. So that's the sort of theme today. It's about literacy. Now, you're all very, very clever data professionals here tonight, so you don't need literacy. However, hopefully what you can do is, from the presentation tonight, you can take away bits and pieces, including the slide deck, and you might be able to do some literacy in your workplace or with your client, okay? Because I think data literacy is the big one. It's the #1 issue. We try and do all sorts of amazing stuff with data warehouses and data lakes and advanced analytics and all that sort of stuff. But without this basic data literacy, it's all a waste of time, okay? So from my perspective, data literacy is the big one. You might have heard that phrase, strategy, culture eats strategy for breakfast, okay? Well, data illiteracy trumps everything, okay? If people don't understand what you're saying, they can't care. If they don't care, you're wasting your breath, okay? So illiteracy is the big one, in my opinion. So hopefully, as data professionals, you'll learn from this presentation tonight. You're welcome to take these away and use these slides and do some data literacy in your workplace. So let's have a look. Let's go try and see if we can...
Just go to where it says share at the top. At the top, there's a green. Yep.
That one.
Yep, and then pick the one that you want.
That one.
You want the.
That's it. It's working. Good. So that's me. I'm the CEO of Catapult. You can tell from the grey beard I've been in the industry for some time. Okay. I still enjoy it, and I do my best to try and spread the wisdom that I've learned over the years. I think DAMA is a great organisation, and I love working with DAMA. I won't go into much detail about the business that I work for, Catapult BI. We're a data management consulting business. We work with lots of different clients, and we partner with lots of different vendors. Now, what are we going to talk about tonight? So we're going to talk about why projects fail, We're going to talk about this belief in the magical power of software to fix things. Key message I think you need to take away from this, and hopefully as part of your literacy with your colleagues and your clients, is software on its own is useless. Now, all those vendors that I showed earlier that we work with, they don't like that story at all, okay? Oh, they're not happy because they just want to get on stage and say, this is the product you've been looking for. Buy this software, it will fix everything for you. It will make tea, scones, yes, at a pinch, it will make them as well. You know, it'll do anything you want. That's not true, okay? And, you know, I'd have lots of friends in the software vendor space, and we work closely with them, but we have to temper the message and turn it into something a little bit more real, okay? Software is only one facet of capability, okay? If you're trying to do better data quality, better data management, yes, you can buy some software tools, but if you don't have the right policies and the right people and the right processes, it's not going to work, okay? So another key message is software is just one facet. It's a good facet, but just one facet of capability. I'll then talk a little bit about specific kinds of tools and how to go about acquiring them, because there's the right ways and then there's lots of wrong ways. And unfortunately, I see working with many different clients, clients buying software the wrong way, okay? And that's basically what we're going to touch on tonight. As I said, it is data literacy. This is not heavy technical detail, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So what I might do first of all is, and this goes to the theme of the message tonight, I'm going to try and see if we can run a little video, okay? If it doesn't work, we'll have to use our imagination. All right, here we go.
After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible.
Anyway, I could watch that for hours. I've got so many happy memories of going to the games with my kids and watching these and coming out just feeling wonderful. And, you know, we all want to believe in magic. Isn't magic wonderful? Unfortunately, that's fiction, okay? It's not the real world. Oh, hang on, I have what to do here. Get back to the other thing. Okay, so the key thing in there, if you remember, it's the wand chooses the wizard. This wand has magical powers, okay? Unfortunately, this happens in software. Oops. And this is what people believe that they can buy from the vendors. This is the most powerful and magical wand in the world. It has amazing powers. It's obviously got the tail of a phoenix feather in it, but it's got this amazing magic called graph database knowledge representation. It's also got some extra super special magic called machine learning inference engines. And it's even got the AI powered avatar interface. If it's got all these magical attributes, it will be the most powerful wand, the most powerful piece of software. You can point it at any problem and it fixes it. Unfortunately, that's not true, but that's what people want to believe. And unfortunately, many software vendors kind of get carried away. So what kind of magic does it have? Oh, it's got special AI magic in it. Oh, has it got machine learning? Yes, it's got that as well. Will it fix? Oh, yes, it will fix any data problem at all. Okay, and people just want to believe. They get led into it. They get sucked into it. Before you know it, there's a purchase order for millions of dollars of software licenses. The software licenses arrive. In comes the manager. So, has it fixed everything yet? No. Well, you know, we bought all the licenses. Why hasn't all of our data problems been fixed? And that's when they realize magic's not real. Okay, software is not magic. It cannot do that. And it's sad because, I mean, I want to believe in magic, but as a professional, I know it doesn't exist. I know software is not magical. Worked in software industry for many decades, written millions of lines of code. There's no magic involved here, okay? Unfortunately, many people want to believe and they get sucked into this and they buy the software and of course it doesn't work. And look, there's many reasons why projects fail, okay? Unfortunately, you know, this belief in the magical power of software to fix things is one of the very, very common reasons why many projects fail, okay? Now, having said all that, okay, you know, graph database technology, it's very good. Use it in the right place to solve the right problems. I've done lots of really interesting things in machine learning. It's a wonderful piece of technology, okay? And, you know, AI, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's not magical, and it just doesn't fix stuff like Harry Potter's wand fixes things. And, you know, people, as I said, get sucked into believing that will work for them. So, it's not magical, it cannot fix problems. So where do we go from here? Okay, I've sort of deflated the client. I've blown the bubble of inflated expectations. So where do we go from here? What can we do to help people now that we've told them that the software that they've bought is not magical and it's not going to fix them? So look, you know, this is where we start to get into data management, good data management, and what can we actually do to make businesses better, given that there is no magic and there's no magical software. So essentially, data management, it can help people run their businesses better. And that running businesses better could be efficiency or productivity gains. So many of you will be familiar with, oh, we do analytics because you have insights. Insights make the business work better. Well, yes and no. Insights are very, very good. So you might run some sophisticated analytics over all your supermarket data and discover that, you know, we could sell 2 extra cans of beans in Woolworths next week if we put them on this shelf. Okay, that's very interesting. But insights from analytics, they're only of value if you can get them to decision makers at the right time. That decision maker can make a better decision in that business process, and that better decision has an outcome, okay? Now, there's lots of links in this chain, okay? The insight has to be relevant. You have to find the decision maker. You have to get it to the right time. They have to be able to do something differently. The thing that they do differently makes the business work better, okay? There's lots of causal links in there. It's non-trivial to get all those ducks lined up. Another example is data asset registers. Really good thing. We encourage clients to build them and help them build them because they can help data analysts find existing data assets. You can recycle those assets. You can avoid costly and wasteful rework where people keep building the same assets, same report year after year, okay? But it does require getting all the ducks lined up, okay? Building a data asset register is hard. There's a lot of hard work. You have to get analysts to use it. Those analysts have to stop doing what they've been doing for the last few decades, which is recreating the same report every month when we can recycle something. Okay, so data management can make your business work better, but it involves hard work, effort, human design. There's no easy way, there's no magical way to make the business work better. It requires hard work. Software, as I mentioned before, is very important. You know, machine learning in the right place, graph database in the right place. These technologies in the right place are wonderful, but they're just one facet of capability. The software on its own must be used with the other facets of capability. Now, because it's a DAMA meeting, I'm going to talk about the wheel. Hopefully you've heard about it before. Look, you know, the data management fundamentals, sometimes these things are not sexy and exciting, but they are important. If we're going to get all those ducks lined up, if we're going to make the business work better, we have to understand what these practices are. We have to uplift them in the right sequence. And as I said, we have to build capability. So, you know, we've got to do something about metadata management. We've got to do something about data governance. We've got to build up these capabilities so that we can get the ducks lined up so that data management makes the business work better. Some of you may have seen my presentations before. You know, some capabilities are very, very fundamental. And we've seen with lots of different clients, if you get these fundamental capabilities working properly, if you get data governance, metadata, data quality, reference and master data, if you can get these practices working, you're probably on the right route, okay? Now, you can't just do these 4 practices, you have to do all the practices in the wheel, but some of these practices are more equal than others. Now, the important thing here is when we're talking about data quality or we're talking about data governance, we're talking about capability. Now, capability is having the right policies, people with the right skills, organizational knowledge, well-defined and accurate processes, and automation, the software tools. We need all these different facets of capability in order for these things to work. As an example of this, let's look in the data quality space, okay? Now, lots of vendors sell data quality tools, but that software on its own doesn't fix things and make things better. You need to have the other facets of capability. The first thing you need to have when you're doing data quality is definitions of what good data looks like, all right? If you don't know what good data looks like, how can you say this is poor data? Compared to what, okay? So a key thing in data quality is being able to identify what are called data definitions. So we can define what a correct tax file number looks like, what a correct Medicare number, what a correct customer number looks like, what Aboriginal status looks like. There are lots and lots of data definitions. This is what correct data looks like, okay? Now, data definitions are the first step. And if we're going to do data quality, we need to have all the facets. So this diagram here illustrates, yes, we need to have the policies, okay? Human beings understand them. They exercise judgment. Those human beings then define the data definitions. The data definitions are defined in such a way that we can load them up into a metadata registry. We have a clever piece of software, a data quality tool, which does some profiling. It then ingests the definitions of what good data looks like. It compares the existing data source with those good definitions and produces a report, okay? So to do data quality, we need all the facets. We need human judgment, we need process, we need policies, and we need a bit of software as well, okay? Once we blend all these facets together, then we have effective data quality. The software on its own cannot fix problems. It cannot do data management. It cannot make our business better. We need to have all those other facets of capability. The next topic I'm going to go on to is, okay, so tools aren't magical, but they have an important role to play. They're an important facet of capability. How do we go about acquiring them? Yes, we don't want to get convinced by the vendor about the magical power of their new wand. We know magical wands don't exist. So what is the right way of going about acquiring tools? To do this, I'm going to use the specific example of metadata management tools. So because you're all data professionals, you know what metadata is. And metadata, it's, in my opinion, it's the adhesive that binds the different practice areas together. So metadata is generated and consumed in all the different practice areas, whether it's data governance, data quality, reference data, data architecture modeling, all of these different areas, metadata is centrally important. And so what I'll do is I'll tell you what a journey for acquiring a software tool, a good journey looks like. If you're going to do it correctly, what does it look like? And then I'll also tell you some bad ways of doing it. So metadata, just as a quick refresher, where is it in the workplace? Well, it's all over. Okay, it's in our record management systems, it's in our databases, it's in our spreadsheets, it's everywhere. Okay, and a very, very useful tool is called an enterprise data cataloging tool. This is a really useful piece of software that can go off and extract and find metadata from lots of different sources, automatically harvest it and put it into a repository, okay? Great piece of software, all right? But if we're going to acquire that software, what do we need to know? The first thing we need to know is there are lots and lots of different kinds of metadata. All right, so this graphic here illustrates some of them. There's reference data, which is a kind of metadata. There's data architecture, data model metadata, there's storage metadata. There's lots and lots and lots of different kinds of metadata. So, okay, so we're going to buy a tool. Is it going to work with all these different kinds of metadata? So, I won't go into too much detail here, but there is good material in the marketplace about this. Gartner, some of their stuff is a little bit needs to be taken with a pinch of salt, but they do produce the Magic Quadrant every year. These things are definitely worth reading, and you know, some of my comments are aligned with Gartner's recommendations, but some of them probably go a little bit beyond them. But there is some good information out there. Most important thing to know if you're in the business of buying a metadata management tool is there is no one tool to rule all. Okay, there are lots and lots of different tools out there provided by different vendors. Each has those strengths and weaknesses, but there is no one tool that does everything you'd ever want to do with metadata across all the different kinds of metadata and does it brilliantly. Okay, each has those strengths and weaknesses. Why is metadata and metadata tools so important? So if we're going to provide our business users with useful business-facing data services, we need to understand what kinds of metadata those business services use and need in order to provide that service. So if we're doing a business glossary service, or if we're doing a data asset register service, whatever service we're making available to our business users, what kinds of metadata does that service require? And so first step is to understand that mapping of business services enabled by different kinds of metadata. The next thing we need to understand is that some tools are better at doing certain actions and activities with metadata than others. So some tools might be very good at business glossaries, but not so good at data model metadata. Other tools might be great at data model metadata, but not so good in the data quality space. So each tool has got strengths and weaknesses, and we can map those strengths onto that map of all the different kinds of metadata. Right, so now we've got this concept of different kinds of metadata. Some tools are better than others at certain kinds of things. What's the right way to go and acquire software tools? In this case, metadata management tools, but we can generalize it to other things. The first step on this acquisition journey is to know your business, okay? The most important thing is start with the business processes that produce and consume data. What kind of business services, business-facing data services do they need? What are the problems that they're currently facing? So this ability to talk to and understand how the business works. Your business might be a government agency dispensing grants. It might be a library. It might be a stockbroking business. It might be, you know, a supermarket chain. Whatever that business does, the first step in understanding software tools is to understand how the business works. Now that might seem a bit odd. Surely we just need to get a tool that does data stuff. No, we need to understand business. That's the first step. Once we've understood the business, we can then find out where are the pain points. Where don't things work well? If we can provide good data services and inject those data services into people that make decisions in those business processes, how are those data services going to make the business work better? Okay, so this is a step that requires some deep, complex analytical skills. You need to understand business processes. You need to understand how decisions are made. You need to understand how people consume information and make better decisions. You need to be able to understand how processes are measured. This is a very, very complex piece of human judgment, okay? But it's essential. Once we've done that, we can then work out, I reckon the business will work better if we can provide these people over here in this process with a data asset register service. I think these people in this process over here, if they had a data cataloging service, that could help them. And these people over here, they need some sort of self-service VI. Okay, what we have to be able to do is map the problems into specific kinds of services that people can consume. When they consume those services, they make better decisions. When they make better decisions, you have better business outcomes. So we map those data services onto the metadata. We then, because we've already done some analysis, we know what kinds of metadata is involved. Once we know what kinds of metadata are involved, we can map that onto certain tool capabilities. We can then identify a small number of tools that are going to provide the metadata capabilities that are going to drive and enable the business service. That business service can be consumed and used by people in the business to make better decisions. So we narrowed it down to a small number of tools. We then make a selection. We develop a deployment plan. We then deploy the tools, and then hopefully those pain points have been addressed. People are making better decisions because we're now able to supply the data service. Okay. There's a lot involved. Okay. This is not easy. This involves a lot of effort, a lot of human skill. All right. There's no magic involved here at all. All right. It's hard work. All right. Unfortunately, that's how the real world is. All right. It's not Harry Potter. This is how the real world works. And we have to be able to communicate variants of this story to our colleagues and our clients so that they don't rush out and buy the latest one. Okay. Now, here's some variants of that approach that are wrong, but are very, very common. Okay. And so as working as a consultant in the data management industry, I've often got called in and gone into clients and says, oh, what have you done? And says, well, we bought this tool, but it didn't fix anything. Okay, so what was the process that you followed? Well, we bought some tools. We tried to work out what the tools were good for. There was something to do with data management. We're not sure. And then we handed them over to someone and said, go and give these to the business. Okay, so buying the tools first and then trying to work out what you can do with them is a very, very common scenario. Okay, it's if you like, it's the complete reverse of what you should do. You need to understand the business, understand the pain points, understand the improvement points. You know, think about this in terms of data services. Yeah, it's a complete wrong way. Another variant of the wrong way is it's sort of vendor and CIO group driven. So we work with lots of different CIOs around Australia, and what CIOs often like to do is to be entertained by the vendors. They'll come and do this amazing presentation with the smoke machines and the laser light shows and the duff music, and you know, they'll go, wow, that technology is fantastic. Okay, you know, I reckon if we buy this technology, the business are going to find this really, really useful. They'll thank us because we bought them the right technology. So of course, you know, the CIO group go off and buy this technology. They then hand it over to some business manager. Here you go. Go and make the business work better. What, eh? What's this technology supposed to do? You know, we run a supermarket, we run a retail business, we run a mining corporation. What's this software supposed to do for us? Well, it's good. It's amazing. You know, work it out. And so that's a very, very common way. And unfortunately, you know, many organizations we work with, there is a massive disconnect between the technology organization and the business divisions. Another wrong way is let's take the shortcut. So unfortunately, well, we haven't had many in the last year because of COVID. It used to be the case that every year Gartner would run the big conference, the analytics conference, and the executives from all around Australia would fly into the Gold Coast or wherever it was that year and listen to all the Gartner presentations and then rush back to the office and say, I know what we need. I've been to the conference. I've got the brochure. Okay, I'm going to buy it. I'm convinced. I know this is what the business needs. And so someone with authority and budget rushes out, buys some software because they've seen it presented at the latest conference. They then hand it over to the business side of the house and say, off you go, make the business work better. And of course it doesn't work. So look, there's lots of different variations on this theme. There's lots of wrong ways of going about building capability. A lot of these wrong ways involve people buying tools, software tools that they shouldn't be buying, or they're buying them in the wrong way, okay? As I said, a lot of this, not always, but a lot of this goes back to this magical belief in software. It's seductive. People get sucked in. They think if they buy the right software, just like that wizard's wand, it's going to fix things. No, the truth cannot be further away from that than is possible. It's nothing like that at all, okay? Yes, software has a role. Software can help. Software can be good. It's just one facet of capability. You need to understand the other facets. You need to be able to design solutions. You need to understand how business works. To build capability, you have to have a rich, complex set of skills to understand business, to do analysis. It's not easy, it's hard work. But if you do the hard work and you get it done in the right sequence, then software can be good for you, okay? So I think that's more or less the end, okay? Now I did talk quite a little bit about metadata tools, but this approach can be generalized to pretty much any software tool that you'd use to help in lift data management capability, make the business work better, okay? At the end of the day, software is good, but without those other facets of capability, it's a waste of money, all right? So hopefully that has entertained you a little bit for this evening. You've picked up some hints and tips in terms of data literacy. As I said, I'm happy for you to recycle this material, edit it, change it for the betterment of your workplace, okay? Now at this point, we take questions. So happy to field any question that you have, okay? Anybody? Yes.
When you're talking about assessing the capabilities, how do you balance between what it is now and the aspirational place where you want to take the business, particularly if you're not in control of?
Yeah, look, this is a tough one. I mean, it's a delicate balancing act because you want people to be enthusiastic about the whole notion of data management and data management capability uplift, because that's how one way that we can get the business to work better. But you also have to temper that enthusiasm with the realities of the real world, which is this involves a lot of hard work and organization and money, okay? And it is this delicate balancing act, okay? There's no easy answer to that. I mean, part of it is literacy like this, okay? I mean, this is just one little piece, and I'm just one person doing it. People need to be subjected to literacy of this kind, not necessarily for me, but literacy of this kind, so that they can make better, more informed decisions, okay? As I said, lots of people may be very, very good at their job. You know, they can sell things in a retail outlet. They can do amazing things in accounting with spreadsheets. They can solve hard problems in the laboratory, invent new chemicals and stuff. But not many people have that sort of business analysis skill. How does the business actually work? Okay, how do we map it? How do we model it? How do we reason about the business? How do we design and redesign the business so it works better? Those sorts of design skills and analysis skills are extremely rare, okay? But they're an essential component if we're going to get data management to make the business work better, okay? So it's all about education and literacy in a nice, gentle, easy way. We don't want to poke fun at people. You don't know how the business works, or you don't understand data management. We don't want to, but we have to uplift the capability. By uplifting and educating people, hopefully we can then be in a better position to temper the enthusiasm, get excited about this because the business will work better, but it's all steady on.
Yeah.
It's not magic, it takes effort. It takes a lot of money and time. Yeah. But we have to keep the enthusiasm but temper it, if that makes sense. And I think the education is one way to do that. Thanks.
It often helps if you have a problem to start with.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
then sometimes the issue is that there might be a lot of good in, data management and leveraging the data, but if they don't have a problem, they don't feel like they have to do something about it.
Oh,
And on the other hand, if you have a problem or a serious problem or something goes seriously wrong, then all of a sudden you're struggling to get a good solution in a short period.
that's right. And look, to be honest, a lot of over the last few decades of consulting, most of the clients, sitting in the boardroom, okay, so what's the skeleton in the cupboard? What's the motivation? Oh, John, we had the regulator in last year. You'll believe what the regulator uncovered. They nearly shut us down. They nearly took away our license to operate. We nearly went out of business. We don't want that to happen again. So usually there's the big event, okay, or a series of big events. And at the board level, that's the great motivator. Well, if you had better data management, better data governance, that wouldn't occur again. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
We nearly got shut down. We nearly went out of business. Don't want that to happen
And
again.
sometimes that's what it needs.
Oh, it does. And I think the trick is identifying those motivations, okay? People have to be motivated to do stuff about improving data management. Sometimes you just have to scare them. The scary ones are often a good motivation. And almost all organisations at the board level, they've got those skeletons in the cupboard that the really scary things they don't want to happen again. And if you can convince them that good data governance, good data management, these sorts of things will make that less likely to happen, it's going to lower the risk, then you're likely to win favour and gain support at that level, okay? Sometimes it's good if you've got not a scary thing, but a happy thing to motivate people. Unfortunately, people tend to be more motivated by scary things. Yeah.
It's quite often the case, say for example in Europe at GDPR that drove a lot of data management. But one of the issues I think is that when people realise the regulator is coming down, say APRA with CPS 234, etc. People start to get concerned about it, and as John says, if there's a way to turn that around, because some organisations say, yes, we know we've got a problem, but we don't have time to deal with it now. And until there is a compelling event, it makes it really difficult to get the attention of senior management because they've got too many things going on. So sometimes it's not the fact that they don't understand the need for it, it's more that they just have other priorities. So how do we make this a priority? And some of the things around data asset valuation, so a data strategy that says data is a valuable asset. Well, let's test that. Have you got data in your balance sheet? If data is not in your balance sheet, how can you be saying that data is a valuable asset?
Yeah, and some examples of regulators making a difference in Australia in recent years. Austrac, they prosecuted Combank, I think it was Westpac as well. Combank paid a $900 million fine or out-of-court settlement. Look, they can afford it, but there are hundreds of financial institutions around Australia who cannot afford $1 billion fine. They just go broke. They just disappear out of existence. Combank, it's water off a duck's back for them. They don't care, $1 billion a year, whatever. But there's hundreds of little, credit unions and small banks around Australia and around the world who just can't afford a fine like that. So I think Austrac has done a world of good around governance, and some of these failings are poor data governance. You've got these data processes, following transactions, they get to a certain level, you report them or you don't report them. There's just poor data management, poor data governance going on there. And suddenly before you know it, bugger, we've, you know, got Austrac taking us to court, we'll go broke. Yeah. So I think, you know, there are a small number of examples where the regulators haven't made a difference, a good difference, not to the big players, they don't care, but to the small and medium-sized financial institutions, those kinds of actions do actually trigger behavior.
Do you think like open standards, like open banking and open telecoms? Because I know there's data quality elements within that as well. Similar thing.
Yeah, look, I think what you need to motivate people, data quality is important, but when somebody makes a major mistake because of poor quality data, you know, the wrong drug was sent to thousands of people who got vaccinated and died, you know, with the wrong drug or something. That kind of data quality consequences is the motivator, because data quality is just a bit too nebulous and abstract. But you know, people being killed because they've been given the wrong drugs, that's not abstract. That's very, very real, and that's the sort of thing. Oh, we can trace that back to data quality. It's very poor. So unfortunately, those sorts of horrific, unpleasant events are the things that kind of trigger the interest, because, you know, data quality, data governance, metadata management of reference data, they're all a bit abstract and nebulous and datary stuff that most people don't understand or care about. But people care about, you know, their family members being killed because they were given the wrong drug. Yeah, yeah. So it's unfortunate, but it's those sorts of events that can actually trigger action in the data management space.
John, you mentioned.
I think Ricky had a question.
Sorry. So we understand that data management thing is like it's something need to be managed, and it's a time-consuming thing, and to get into inside and get the report formulated and it reach to a right person to take a right decision at right time. So for that, we need to follow the many things and many aspects of the data management. But when we have a rapid and fast and short-term projects, so how this is relevant? Because if I take an example of vaccination,
Yeah.
like when it starts, it takes few months to gather the data to understand how we manage them, how we model them, and by the time we ready with the model,
Yeah.
I think that the whole project is.
Look, it is a challenge for exceptional events like a pandemic. To some extent, it's easier in sort of more business as usual, steady state business, where, you know, tax returns get done every year, benefit gets paid, you know, holidays occur, and most large corporations have got well bedded down established processes for selling things or doing tax returns or doing grant management. So where you've got those well established, well bedded down processes and fairly steady state business as usual, yeah, you've got time to get all the ducks lined up. The challenge, of course, is with a pandemic, whole new processes get created on the fly. Yeah, and it is then quite challenging to be able to say, well, here's the process, here's the decision, they make a better decision here, there's a better outcome there. That kind of analysis, you can still do it, it just needs to be done quicker, okay? And it's the same skills, it's the same analysis and design, systems analysis and design skills that you have to apply. You just have to apply it very, very quickly. And you might not be able to get it done as accurately, okay? So, you know, if we're working with very mature, steady state processes, government agencies giving out grants every year, supermarkets selling stuff every week, universities enrolling students every year. With those steady state processes, we want to have high confidence that our data management improvement is going to give them a 5 or 10% productivity. And we want to know that with great confidence, okay? With things like a pandemic, yeah, no, is it good data management or not? Well, you know, 50% less people died. Oh, well, that's a good outcome. In a steady state environment, we want like 100%, nearly 100% of people lived. So in rapidly changing environments, you've got to do the same kind of analysis and design. You just have to realize that the accuracy or fidelity of the analysis and the outcomes may be a bit different. But, you know, if half the number of people have died instead of 100%, that's a good outcome in a pandemic. So you have to adjust your expectations because you're having to do the analysis and design quicker, because you're doing it quicker. It may not have the same accuracy and confidence and fidelity, but you still have to do it. Yeah.
So do we have any softwares or technologies coming around to cope up with a different kind of project, not the established business?
Yeah, look, so I've done a lot of work before in doing modeling simulation studies for scenario planning. You know, what if all the forest in Australia catches fire? What if we have a pandemic? What if a meteorite strike occurs? And doing sort of modeling simulation studies to model economies or model businesses under those exceptional events. There are techniques that you can do to explore those sorts of problems and try and understand how you can mitigate risks and perform better. I think that there's a huge opportunity for that kind of work to really be applied more generally and more usefully, because we're living in uncertain times. You know, the climate's changing. You know, our land is burning to a crisp. We're having pandemics. We might have another one next year. All sorts of things are happening. So I think there is a role for that sort of scenario planning, modeling and simulation approach to understanding problems and doing better preparation and better risk management. Having said that, you know, we still have long-running business as usual processes. You know, tax office has been collecting tax for 100 years. They'll still keep collecting it. You know, retailers, they're still selling things, maybe more online and less in shops, but, you know, government continues doing government things. So there's a lot of long-running, well-established, steady-state processes. So there's lots of opportunity for doing analysis and design and doing process improvement and capability uplift, which has long cycles and high probabilities of benefit. Having said that, I think there is increasingly more need for being able to do analysis quicker. But when you do the analysis quicker, you have to understand that the fidelity or accuracy of your predictions is going to be different. Good. Okay. Any more questions? If not, I shall thank you for listening. And hopefully you can take some of this material on board. Happy to send you the PowerPoint decks if you want to adapt it and adjust it and use it in your workplace. And please, if this is your first DAMA event, come back for some more. Okay. Hopefully, John, will be having more face-to-face as we come out of the pandemic and the lockdowns start to disappear and travel becomes less restrictive. We can get back to more face-to-face events. Yeah, I've missed them. Hopefully we'll get more. Okay.
I'd like to thank you very much, John. Fantastic presentation. I think you've elicited a lot of creativity in people's minds by what you've done. The points that you raised are very, very important to all of us in terms of how organisations go about utilising those wonderful software tools. They aren't magic, they do require a lot of work. But it's making sure that we understand how we should be purchasing them rather than just buying them and then expecting magic to happen. So thanks very much, John.